Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to episode number 33 of the Lead to Greatness podcast, where we believe in helping others reach their greatest potential, and together we can change the world. Today on Lead to Greatness, we have Shawn Askinosie. Shawn is the founder of Askinosie Chocolate. Askinosie Chocolate has been featured in the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, and also on Boomerang. Shawn was named by the Oprah magazine as one of 15 guys who are saving the world. On today's podcast, Shawn discusses how he goes from successful criminal law attorney to going after his purpose in life. Shawn is the author of an Amazon great-selling book, Meaningful Work, A Quest to Do Great Business, Find Your Calling, and Feed Your Soul. Help me welcome Shawn Askinosie. This is Cedric Francis, and you're listening to Lead to Greatness.
I kind of begin with what I did for most of my life, which is I was a criminal defense lawyer. Okay. And I did that for almost 20 years, and I specialized in serious felony cases. So everything from robbery, drugs, murder, tax fraud, bank fraud, you name it. That's what I did. And I started my practice in Texas, where my wife is from, and then I moved to Missouri, where I'm from. So mostly it was in Missouri. I loved it, loved every single thing about it. It didn't feel like work. And then one day it started feeling like work.
Wow.
And I'm sure many of your listeners and viewers can relate that, you know what, we're called to something, and it can be for a very long time. Could be our entire professional careers, or well, there comes a time when it's time to look for something else. And so I did, and I had about a 5-year journey of searching for the next inspiration, all the while still keeping my day job, still practicing law. And I ended up settling on chocolate. And so about 14 years ago, I started one of the first bean-to-bar chocolate factories in America.
Wow, that's awesome.
It's a small family business, just 17 full-time employees, including me. And I like it that way. And I travel all over the world buying cocoa beans and working with cocoa farmers and working with them as a partner in community development in their communities. And then in my town of Springfield, Missouri, we have a chocolate university program where I engage young people to teach them, one, that small business can be a force for good in the world, and two, there's a world beyond Springfield, Missouri. That's Askinosie Chocolate.
I want to back real quick. So basically, you started off in a criminal defense attorney.
Yeah.
All right. So you was a criminal defense attorney, and one day you just realized, you know, that it just didn't feel right anymore. So just to let the Lead to Greatness audience know just a little bit about that.
I never lost a criminal jury trial.
Wow.
I would say that from objective measures, I was at the top of my game. I was making a lot of money, a whole lot more than I make as a chocolate maker. Let me just tell you that. And, you know, I mean, my trials I had 2 trials that were covered on Dateline, both of them on Court TV, one of them gavel to gavel.
Wow.
My cases were reported in the New York Times and everything else from here to Sunday. And so from objective external measures, yes, I was at the top of my game, and everything seemed to be going perfectly.
Wow. You know, so that's very interesting. Okay. So you're at the top of the game. To everybody around you, they definitely see success, but we're going to talk a little bit more about this because obviously it wasn't success to you if you're feeling the way you're feeling. So we're going to dig more into that. So obviously you're making money. You're doing very well. You're living to what everyone would call the American dream. Everything looks well according to everyone around you, friends. Everybody probably will be looking right now like, what is going on? What is wrong with you, Shawn? Why do you want to quit criminal law? So I want to ask you this question, you know, just to give the Lead to Greatness a better understanding. What inspired you to go from a successful criminal law to beginning a chocolate factory?
what happened is, and I think this, and you articulated it well, because eventually, after never losing, what happened is people would come into my office and expect magic, and think that if they hired me on their case, that I could just sprinkle magic dust over the police reports or whatever, and that it would just poof,
Wow.
go away. No worry about prison. Don't worry about losing your life and liberty. It eventually got to me. The pressure was high. I had a lot of death threats back then, which didn't bother me. It really didn't bother me, and it was mostly law enforcement people that wanted to kill me. I was doing
Wow.
my job. I did not hold back. I did not have any fear. And that's the way you need to be. If you're going to defend people whose lives are on the line or their freedom is at stake, you have to do the absolute best job that you possibly can to make the system work. And if that means that people don't like you, well, then that's part of the job when the stakes are so high. That's what you want in your lawyer. You want someone who is going to make the system work and make it do what it's supposed to do, especially when the deck is stacked against you. And if you're a defendant in a criminal case, I don't care what state you're in, I don't care what federal court you're in, the deck is stacked against you, because the government and has many resources that they can bring to bear to find you guilty. And so that's a lot of pressure. And so for me, it was, as I reflect back on it, it was a moment in time. But at the time, I didn't know what was happening, because I wasn't very, this will sound really new agey, but I wasn't aware. I didn't have any self-awareness that really was much beyond my head. I didn't have a lot of heart self-awareness. And so, I'm at the end of this murder trial, and which was stressful as all get out. It was very high profile. And just near the end of the case, right before closing arguments, and something happened that sort of triggered in me a moment right before closing arguments. And I sort of just kind of broke down, not like, laying on the floor crying, but I just had a moment of, what is this? What am I doing? And so I was just lost after that case. We successfully handled that case. It was a great result. But for me, I did not know. I was like making money. I didn't, and I didn't. It's like I didn't feel good. It's just, everything was just kind of coming down. A lot of people would call it burnout. It seemed deeper than that for me. And I thought, well, there's got to be a way around this. My first thought was, well, surely I can buy something to make myself feel better. And so I bought a convertible Mercedes, thinking that would, sort of assuage my deep pain. And it didn't. I had that thing for about 4 months. And but that's the way it goes. And thankfully, I decided to really explore what was going on inside to try to get to the bottom of it. But it took 5 years. It took 5 years and a lot of prayer.
5 years. And you said something, because here, that's someone lead to greatness. You're not feeling successful. And then to add to that, you found a coping mechanism, which was an automobile, and you realized this automobile wasn't going to fix the problem. So listeners on today, you may be in the same position, in the same situation in your life right now. Your situation may not be an automobile. It may be clothes. It may be food. It may be drugs. It may be alcohol. It may be sex. The list goes on and on, of what this coping mechanism could be for you. So Shawn, what I want you to do, I just want you to, you said it took 5 years. 5 years. I just want to kind of dig into that. Just really, if we was to help somebody, because you done got out of it, but somebody is in it right now dealing with it. What can they do right now
Okay.
What quick tips can you help
Okay.
them right now?
The first thing I tell people is step away from the Google search box. Just
Mm,
back away from the Google search box. Believe I Googled, even back then, I Googled, what should I do with my life? I mean, believe me, that's a search phrase that a lot of people have entered. Or,
yeah.
they ask Siri, what should I do with my life? So my first bit of advice is, and it's very counterintuitive because all the information in the world is literally at our fingertips. You can find out anything.
Mm,
But when you're searching for the the next passion or next inspiration in your life, you more than likely will not find it on Google. Now, what you will find on Google is you're going to find, or LinkedIn, you're going to find a cool looking job.
mm.
You're going to find a cool looking franchise opportunity to go acquire, or some business to go acquire. But the problem is if you do that, you're, as you said a moment ago, your situation will be sort of, you will be distracted for another however many years
Mhm.
until you come back to that same place, which is, oh man, I need this inspiration. I need this passion in my life. Where is it? And until you step away from LinkedIn and Facebook and the stuff that, and Google, where
Right.
you think you're going to find the answers, until you step away from that and begin to kind of explore what's going on in your life, what's going on in your heart and in your mind and in your soul, what is stirring all of this up.
Right.
That's what I encourage people to do, is to just to step back and to do the sort of counterintuitive things, because what we want to do is we want to talk to our friends, our trusted friends. I don't mean our Facebook friends. I mean, we want to talk to our trusted friends and say, what should I do? I can't do this anymore. And I need to have another job, another career, another business, something else. Tell me, help me. Or we pay a coach, however many $100 an hour, help me, please. You got to give me some ideas of what I can do. Or we read a book, even my book, people could, do that. But I would say that's not the answer. So what I say is, after you can discipline yourself to stop Googling, kind of think about, and this is the next layer of the onion, kind of think about what is the intersection between my talents, what the world needs, and my passion. Now,
Mm.
I didn't come up with this, but just writing this stuff down is a great exercise, because we can find ideas that will become illuminated as we just write down those three things and see where the intersections are. Now, the next layer of the onion, and this is where the rubber meets the road. This is the hardest
Before you
part.
get to the next
Yeah,
level,
yeah,
so let's talk about, if you can get
sure.
one example of what that, when you said, going into the inner,
Yeah,
inner thoughts, thinking
yeah.
about the inner. What? Give an example of that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, and that's actually the next step. The next
Okay.
step is, okay, so once I've done sort of the surface
Okay.
stuff of what am I good at?
Right.
And what does the world need? And how we can define that as, what's the world? Is it my neighborhood? Is it my street? Is it
Wow.
my community? It could be whatever you want to define it as.
Love it. Love it.
Um, 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 and then what am I passionate about? What are those things? That's surface stuff.
Mm.
I mean, anybody can do that. Now it takes time and it takes reflection.
Right.
And so, but where you really start thinking about what's going on inside of my soul is this hard part. It's deep, it's painful, it can be painful, it can take time, it's not a straight path, and it goes like this: where does it hurt?
Mm.
I often say, if I could ask entrepreneurs one question, if I only had one question and they were struggling with finding their next passion, I would ask them, where does it hurt? And I don't mean, from your workout last night. I mean, where is the pain in your broken heart? What was the cause of your broken heart? And more than one cause. And and sometimes people say, well, I don't really have that much sorrow in my life or whatever. I don't really know, I say to them, okay, well, we have a whole lot more to talk about then, because if you don't have a broken heart, we need to get you one, because it's the life worth living is one that's full of broken hearts.
Yes.
That's what we need to examine, because it's from that place. It's from the place of our broken hearts that we can find this kind of interior space to contemplate our passion, our inspiration, what drives us. And it gives us this place of creativity that we did not know previously, I think. And I'm saying that for some people, not everyone, but for some people, this path through our broken heart, not to fix it, but to learn from it and to know that joy can come from it, is the place. It's the genesis point for entrepreneurs and creators. And I mean, I quote in the book this poet philosopher Khalil Gibran, and he says that our greatest joy is our sorrow unmasked. Our greatest joy is our sorrow unmasked, which is a much more beautiful way of saying what I'm trying to say here, that we use this brokenness in our lives, and we sit with it, we think about it, we meditate on it, we pray about it, we journal about it, and then, and this is what happened for me during those 5 years. Then once you know, okay, this is it, man. You know, this is where I feel like my heart was broken. This is where my grief began. And then you roll up your sleeves and you go serve somebody who needs you from that place of your broken heart. That's it. It doesn't have to be a big thing. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to join a board of directors or write a check. It's you rolling up your sleeves, serving someone out of that place in your own broken heart. That is it. That's what it was for me. That's what I did this for almost 5 years. And I served in the palliative care department of our local hospital for almost 5 years on Fridays, just as a volunteer. And palliative care is hospice in the hospital, essentially, where people are dying, whether it's in the oncology or cardiology or neurology. And I just visited with patients, and that was a place of my broken heart from what happened to me when I was a teenager. And so, I mean, this is for me, as I told you before, it involved a lot of prayer. And for me, it was 5 years of a very simple prayer. Dear God, please give me something else to do. And it was something that I meant it, and I was so desperate. And as the years went on, I prayed, you know, God, you know that I want to do something that is meaningful. Where are you? You know, why am I not seeing any message or signs, or, you know, this is just taking so long. And it's when I started to get depressed and I had anxiety about it. I got on Lexapro, and thankfully that helped me, you know, for a while. And you know, I ended up with a psychologist, and I was so discouraged. And what happened is I would ask the people at the end of my visit, and we just talked about whatever. I mean, I was just there as a volunteer talking about, you know, fishing, hunting, pie recipes, whatever. And I would say, hey, would you like me to say a prayer for you? And pretty much everybody who's dying will take a prayer. And this is the key. I said, what would you like me to pray for? This has taught me a lot, by the way. I never pray for anybody anymore without asking what they want me to pray for. Wow. But back then I was just learning this, and they would say, you know, whatever. They would say, would you pray that I'm healed? Would you pray that I die today? Would you pray that my family's okay? Would you pray just whatever? And I listened, and I asked them if I could touch their shoulder or hold their hand, and I would use their own words and pray it right back to them. And in those moments, I actually, for one of the first times in my life, actually thought about someone else besides me for maybe just, I don't know, 3 or 4 seconds. Amazing. Like literally measured in seconds. Then I would finish my day, you know, I'd go do this. And then at the end of my time, I would go to the chapel and the church, and I'd look at those listed names, and I'd pray about those names. And then I'd walk to my car. Well, not every time, but sometimes I'd walk to my car, and I've never had this feeling since. I've never had it before, but there were times when I felt like my feet weren't on the ground when I was walking to the car, like I was kind of almost like floating or like above the pavement.
Wow.
And so that's what this quote that I referred to earlier is about. It's that it's that my great pain was turned into the most this immeasurable joy. And my dad died of lung cancer when I was 14, and that was a real tough deal, man. He was my hero, and you know, just it was just terror. It was a really, really bad situation, and with our church and the way they handled it, and they told me to never talk with my dad about dying because Jesus wouldn't heal him, and it'd be a sign of doubt if we talked about death. And it really messed me up for a long time. And so this is what I'm saying, is that people have said, well, why didn't you just go become a chaplain if this is what you, well, I didn't feel that. What I felt was that it was the bridge. So, and what I mean by that is this experience working in the hospital, praying for people, was a bridge. It gave me space. This created an emotional space in my soul to be able to receive things that I would not be able to otherwise receive. And so I didn't know how to cook. I mean, I knew I wanted to do something in food. I literally couldn't make a Pop-Tart. No, I can make a Pop-Tart. But what I did during this time is I went out and I bought a big green egg. And I started making hamburgers and chicken and barbecued ribs and turkey and ham. And then I started baking. Then I started making cupcakes. Then I started making chocolate desserts. Then literally one day, I was driving to a funeral and I thought, maybe I'll just make chocolate from scratch. Not a clue where it came from. I did not know it came from a bean. I thought it was just like a chemical thing, just poured into a chocolate mold. I had no idea. But within 3 months of that little light bulb, I was in the Amazon studying how farmers grow this cacao and how they harvest it. And then I went back and started to wind down my law practice, which took a year, and that was it. But so yeah, no, I could have stopped and just been a chaplain, but I didn't feel called to that. I felt like that experience was given to me as a bridge, and that's what I think sometimes it's hard for entrepreneurs to understand, is that I'm saying this could be your calling, it could be your vocation, this place where you're serving out of your broken heart, but it could also be a springboard. It could be a launching pad. And then some of your listeners are going to think, but wait, are you saying we should just go serve somebody so that we ourselves will be helped? No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is what Gandhi said, which is if you want to find yourself, lose yourself in the service of others. Jesus said the same thing.
Yes.
I mean, Jesus said the same thing. And it's about dying daily, you know? And so this is why in my business today, you know, I feel like I have a lot of challenges, man. This pandemic has been, I thought the recession was bad, you know, and this is a lot of challenge and a lot of heartache happening right now. Right. But because my business was founded in this story that I've just shared with you, it's carried through. It didn't end. The thread is it just keeps pulling through to right now, to this very moment. That's what I'm saying.
Yes. That's why I'm trying to stop from, you know, shaking. I really want to get up and just kind of take off and run. But I mean, this is really speaking to my heart as well. And you said something. You said through serving, you found your purpose. Learn your purpose, serve, think of others over yourself. And so once you find your purpose, then what to do?
If you've found your purpose, don't overanalyze it. And by that, I mean, don't think that because when you receive this inspiration and you think, okay, this is it. I think this makes sense to me. And you've talked about it. Maybe you've written it in your journal. Maybe you've even written a business plan about it. What I encourage people to do is to take a step, make a commitment that's going to cost you some money, where there's something to lose. And what will happen is the mystery will unfold behind you and will propel you Doors will open,
Yes.
and not 50 doors at one time, but the door that needs to open will
Yes.
open. Then the next door, and you'll have some struggle. But what I'm saying is the first step, it's just, so that's what I did. My first step, I had this light bulb moment. I think I'll make chocolate. That's what I'll do. I bought a ticket to go to the Amazon. That's all I did.
You made a leap of faith in your life. Will you please speak to that individual that's struggling with making the leap of faith into fulfilling their purpose?
Yeah. Well, right now is definitely a time of struggle. And poet philosopher John O'Donohue, I love him, says that in our own lives, we often go through something he calls a threshold. So we're not there and we're not here. We're in the middle. We're in this threshold. And the threshold can often be a place of darkness. In my faith tradition, I'm not Catholic, but I'm a family brother at a monastery near here, and we call it the Paschal Mystery. And the Paschal Mystery is, for example, it's death and resurrection. It's darkness and light. It's mountaintop and the valley and the mountaintop again. And so, what to your listeners, I would say, please, first of all, be aware of this threshold that you're in, this in-between place, the in-between place of struggle. It can be dark, it can be foggy, it can be challenging, it can hurt, and just be aware and recognize that you're in it. You are in the threshold. And don't fight it, and don't try to get out of it. And this is very, very hard. This is so hard. And so what I say to those people, I say, instead of fighting it, can you reach your hand out to someone who will be your companion in this threshold, in this place of darkness? Not to pull you out of it, but to be there with you. Could it be a friend? Could it be a coach? Could it be your spouse? Could it be your brother or sister? Who is going to be that person for you that will hold your hand, that will encourage you, and will remind you that you will not be in this threshold, in this place of darkness forever. You will see light. You will be on the mountaintop. And that's the first thing that I say. I say, look, do things like this. Find podcasts that are inspiring to you and listen to them at times when you're, shaving or taking a shower or whatever, or sitting on your patio. But be inspired, but then do something. And the doing something I'm saying is just reach out to somebody and know that you are not alone. Don't try to wrestle your way out of it.
Yes.
And so this is the first thing I say. Then the other things will follow, and it's where you tell yourself that you're going to do what doesn't feel like you're supposed to do. So what I mean is, what it's going to feel like you're supposed to do is you're supposed to write your business plan, and you're supposed to, put your ideas on paper, and you're supposed to find the money to go do it, or a business partner or something. But what I'm saying is, step back, ask yourself, who needs me? You're thinking, wait, I need me. I need help. I'm the one that needs help. I'm depressed. I'm anxious. I'm struggling. I'm telling you, there's this, it's a paradox. But if you can find it within yourself to help somebody else, you think, well, what happens is role reversal. Instead of you're not the healer, you're the healed.
Yes.
The roles reversed. So, develop some humility, folks. We're entrepreneurs, we're hard chargers, we're going to get it done, we're going to survive, but develop some humility, exercise your humility muscle, and realize that the roles can be reversed. The teacher can become the student, the healer can become the healed, and do that with your companion and your friend by your side, and you'll get this done. You will get this done.
So I want to talk about your book. Let's talk about your book.
Sure. Well, this is a book that I wrote with my daughter, Lauren. She and her husband live in Austin, and we're down there all the time. And she is my chief marketing officer and co-owner in the business with me. Mm-hmm. It took 3 years to write. The reason it took me 3 years to write this book, working really hard on my business and writing the book at the same time, is because I wanted to write this story in such a way that people could see themselves. And that's harder. That's why, we have exercises in the book for people who want to really do these things that I'm talking about, meditating and praying, and it's not the only way, but it is a way that people can approach these questions that you and I have been talking about today. It's called Meaningful Work: The Quest to Do Great Business, Find Your Calling, and Feed Your Soul, published by Penguin Random House.
Wow. Awesome. And the book is definitely going to be in the show notes. Lead to Greatness. Get the book, meditate on it, read it, learn it, and also apply it, because knowledge without application is meaningless. So what I want you to do, I want you to take something from this podcast today. I don't want you to just listen to it as entertainment. Take this podcast, some great information in this podcast, listening to it, and I want you to pull out a takeaway. Then I want you to listen to it again, get another takeaway, and let this podcast be helpful to you. Shawn definitely have a lot of information, a lot of the healing process, purpose, moving all the way, step by step. So I'm so excited. So Shawn, if someone wanted to connect with you and what you're doing, where should they go?
Askinosie.com is our chocolate website. We ship chocolate all over the United States, and it's, we're very passionate about this business, and we keep winning awards for the quality. So Askinosie.com, or my blog website is ShawnAskinosie.com, and I'm easy to find there. People can email me from that website, and I'd love to hear from people. And if I can have a conversation, then I'm happy to do it.
Wow. Awesome, Shawn. Awesome, Shawn. On behalf of the Lead to Greatness community, I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule and adding value to us.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Cedric. Wishing you the best.
Thank you. Thank you. And I wish the same for you, Shawn. And if this podcast was helpful to you, leave a big thumbs up. And also, I want you to check out our Marriage Coach podcast, the podcast with my wife and I. If you're on iTunes, please rate this podcast and leave a review and help get the word out. Again, thank you, Lead to Greatness Nation, for joining us on today. Looking forward to seeing you again on next week. Till then, remember, if you help others reach their greatest potential, together we can change the world. Peace. We out.